Hello, fellow Rotarians. I'm Cedric Hill, and it's my distinct honor to serve as your club's president for the Rotary year 2022-2023. As we move into the next year with the challenges our world faces, I'd like to call us to be a club of even more action, impacting our community, nation, and world with the same fierceness and intention Rotary has always exhibited. Thank you for your service to Rotary. This is our home club. To the community and world that we face, let's together imagine Rotary. Welcome to our September 7th Rotary Club of Columbus meeting. I'm Cedric Hill. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to begin this week just in remembrance of one of our past presidents of our club that we lost over the last week or so. And the Wade family, we want to ask you to continue to keep them in your prayers. Many of us was at the service on yesterday, but we want to take a moment today just to give credence and prayer to the family of Trip Wade and long-standing relationship the family had with this club. Actually, Trip's grandfather was a member of this club. His father was a member of this club. And, of course, Trip himself, I think, where Ed Sprouse and some of those guys are standing now, was one of his favorite spots in the club. But Trip was all over the place and all over the community. So if we could, let's just take a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you so much. If you would join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call on this point Sebatian, our GRSP alumni, that will give us a prayer in his faith tradition. Sebatian, if you would come.
Thank you, President Cedric, everyone. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for having the freedoms and the privileges to meet together in this diverse community as we begin to celebrate Hispanic heritage and its impact that it's had in all our lives. We are so blessed to be serving in the Columbus area as you work within us to do your will and your good pleasure. And we may continue to move forward today in our mission, the mission that I know Tripp and all of us here will continue to do. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Would ask that you would remember the cans. Some of us are historically knowledgeable of that, but if you will remember the can at the center of the table, and we use that to support Feed the Hungry and other things within the community itself. At this point, we'd like to call on Amy.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's a look at your headlines. The seatbelt sign on planes will be switched on a lot more frequently for passengers. According to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, turbulence will increase significantly around the globe, period 2050. Along with busiest flight routes and strongest types of turbulence, those will increase the most. But fear not. This doesn't mean that planes will be less safe. According to Paul Williams, a professor of atmospheric science at the University of Reading in the UK, planes are not going to start falling from the sky. Because aircrafts are built to very high specifications, they can withstand the worst turbulence they can ever expect to encounter, even in the future. Phoenix City is joining forces with orchestra partners to create a vision and strategy for the future of downtown Phoenix City. The goal is to bring an urban feel to the downtown development, and the plans include making downtown more walkable and bike-friendly, activating community spaces, residential development, and getting Riverfront more engaged to create a community-based feeling for the downtown residents and visitors. Phoenix City leadership says the next step is securing investors. Once that occurs, they will start implementing a downtown construction plan. Today is National Beer Day, to celebrate the grains, hops, and brewing methods across eras. So if you don't have plans tonight, now you do. Rainfall looks limited for one more day before the return of moisture brings back better rain chances, especially towards the end of the work week and the beginning of the weekend. Stay dry, my friends, and have a productive week.
Thank you, Amy. Did she say National Beer Day? Okay, just checking. I'd like to call on Frey, if you would, come and recognize our visitors and guests for today. If Frey, if you would come.
Thank you, President Cedric, fellow Rotarians. We have a number of guests today. Guests of the club are, we've already heard from Sebatian Villa, who is our GRSP alum. His wife, Natalia Mira, is here. She's up front. Welcome, Natalia. Our speakers have as their guest today, former Councilwoman Mimi Woodson. Welcome, Mimi. Good to have you. Also, Daisy Linton. Daisy is a retired school nurse, but she's staying busy these days, working as an advocate for the Hispanic Coalition. Ron Williams has with him today Dave Kieran. Dave is a professor of military history at CSU. Ryan Clements has as his guest Kim Golden. Kim is the Chief Operating Officer of NeighborWorks. Welcome. And Cedric Hill has Dominique Boland and Jeremy Ackles. They're both here today. You may remember Jeremy. He was the president of Rotaract last year, and Dominique is the incoming president. So welcome, y'all. And in the spirit of today's presentation, on behalf of all the Rotarians, I would like to say to the guests, bienvenidos amigos, welcome friends, mucho gusto. It's good to meet you. That's all.
Let's try that again. Let's give Frey a hand. How about that? Just a few announcements. As we spoke a few minutes ago about the cans that we've made reference to, we would ask that you would give consideration to entities that in the community that could take advantage of some of those funds that are providing services to the community itself. So if you would give consideration to that, there are forms at the very back table where Julie is that you could nominate a entity that you know in Columbus that would be able to benefit from some of the funds that we have here that we use in our weekly can collection, if you would. Also, this is the time to give consideration for nominating a non-Rotarian for the 2022 Dan Reed Award. Submissions are due October the 1st, and the recipient will be celebrated on October the 28th. Please see the forms in the back of the room, and I think all of us who are here know who Dan Reed is and how important that is to our club and that recognition. So give consideration to a nomination in that respect. At this point, so that we'll have full advantage of having the time for our guests to be, or our presenters to be able to present, I'd like to call on Angelica, who will introduce our program. Angelica, if you would come, and we'll move forward into our day.
Thank you, President Cedric. Good day, fellow Rotarians and distinguished guests. Today, we are here to give you an introduction of what is Hispanic Heritage Month and to create awareness for the Hispanic heritage in the community with the help of the Tri-City Latino Festival. Okay, a lot of you are wondering, what is the Hispanic Heritage Month? Hispanic Heritage Month is to recognize the achievements and contributions of the Hispanic Americans left on the country. It takes place from September 15 to October 15 by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. Next, we are going to have a map of Latin America. Latin America consists of 33 countries. From which of those 33 countries, Brazil is the biggest one and most populous and the biggest economy. In fact, today is the Independence Day of Brazil. I would love to stay right now in the beaches of Ipanema, Rio de Janeiro, with one hand in my right hand a caipirinha and in my other hand a coxinha. Caipirinha is one of the typical drinks of Brazil, and coxinha is one of the typical foods from Brazil. In fact, here in Columbus, you can get a lot of Latin food here at the supermarkets, at the Supermercado Las Americas and San Luis Groceries. Those, also Publix is offering a lot of Latin food for the growing Hispanic community here in Columbus. We are going to speak a little bit about the economics and the power of purchasing power of the Latin community. We are going to have some slides right now. Continue with the presentation. Mexico is the largest and most populous Spanish-speaking country in the world. I'm going to make a big difference here. Mexico speaks Spanish, Brazil speaks Portuguese. Você fala português? Sí, yo falo portugués. And in Mexico, Spanish, usted habla español? Sí, yo hablo español. They are Romance languages, but they share a common denominator, but they are not the same. Just to make a clarification in there. Approximately 659 million people live in Latin America. From those ones, 210 million live in Brazil, Mexico with 130 million in population, followed by Colombia, 50 million, and for Argentina, 45 million. We are going to talk about ethnic categories. Ethnic categories. We want to make a difference here. What is Hispanic, Latino, and Latinx? Hispanic, it refers to the language spoken. Latino is the region. As we say before, it's 33 countries that are in Latin America. From those 33 countries, 19 of them speak Spanish. Then I'm from Colombia. I'm Hispanic because I speak Espanol. I'm Latina because I'm from Latin America too. And I can use a term that is gender neutral that refers as, if I don't want to call me as Latina, Latino, I can use Latinx. Other languages spoken in Latin America are English, French, and Dutch. In these slides, you can see a list of the countries that speak Spanish, 19 of them in the middle in the red. The other countries, just to make a big reference, Brazil is not an Hispanic country, but they celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month because today they are celebrating the Independence Day. And that's why also the Hispanic Heritage Month is on September, because a lot of countries in Latin America, they celebrate Independence Day on September. In this table, please follow the papers we left in your table and read over, because we are going to have later on a quick group activity. Then I'm going to give the floor to my fellow Rotarian and compatriot, Juan Osorio. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angelica. I too happen to be Colombian, born in Medellin and raised in New England. But for Latinos and Hispanics, our culture is very important to us. And speaking the language is a tie for us to our culture. So let's talk a little bit about the numbers. There's 65 million Hispanics in the United States. 52% of the total U.S. population growth between 2010 and 2020 were Latinos or Hispanics. That's the largest percentage by far. Latinos have a 1.7 trillion purchasing power, or a GDP of 2.3 million. That is to say that not all Hispanics are poor. Sometimes we have that misconception that all Latinos and all Hispanics tend to be of low income, fall in the low income population, and that's not necessarily true for all Latino household incomes. 26% of Latinos are millennials, and nearly 60% of Latinos are millennial or younger. We're one of the younger diverse groups in the United States. 70% of Latinos earned a college degree in the past decade, more than any previous decade in our country for Latinos. And here's an important and interesting one. 76% of Latinos repress part of their personas at work. So for those of us that run a nonprofit or a company, do you help celebrate their culture? Do you participate in Hispanic Heritage Month? Do you allow them to express themselves and express their cultures? I will let you know that I'm not a college football follower, even though I now live in the South, but I follow soccer, and soccer is important to me. And so I encourage all of you, if you're an employer, to reach out to your diverse markets, not only Latinos, African Americans, and others, and talk to them about their culture. On this map here, you will see the Hispanic or Latino population in the United States. You can see there that Georgia falls in 10 to 15% of our population is Latino. The top 5 is Puerto Rico, New Mexico, California, and Arizona. Latinos have a larger households than non-Latinos. We have an average household of 3.26 people. And then also 75% of our households speak multiple languages. Now you might say, well, that makes sense. But think about 25% of Latino households only speak one language, English. That's because you have second, third, fourth, fifth generation Latinos that were born in this country and were born in this culture, and their parents maybe did not teach them Spanish. So there is 25% of the Latino households that don't speak Spanish. The median household income for Latinos is a little bit lower than non-Latinos at $52,400. And the median expenditure for Latino household is also lower at just under $38,000. And again, on this slide, although it's hard to read, it shows that nearly 60% of the Latino population is millennial or younger, making us one of the youngest population, the youngest ethnic group in the country. And you can see how that compares to African American, Asians, and Caucasians. And from 2018, projected through 2058, the Latino population will have an 82% growth, more than non-Hispanic or non-Latino growth of only 9%. So not only are we a younger generation, but we are a growing generation in this country. Just a couple quick last fun facts. 64% of Latinos were born in the United States. Again, we have a $1.9 trillion purchasing power. Education and advancement is a key component to our population. We have a bigger household. We by culture make up the largest group. And Spanish language, again, is a cultural connector to our heritage, whatever country we might come from. And one of the things, before I go, that I see often is that some of the misconception about Latinos and Hispanic come from national media. I saw a report a couple of years ago when I first came to Georgia that on CNN that stated one of many Mexican countries had X problem. Well, there's only one Mexico. It is not Mexican countries. So there's a lot of misconception that continues to carry on even in national media. And it's okay and it's understandable, but the best way to become informed is simply to ask. And speaking with my fellow Latinos here, I think we all agree that we're not offended if you have a misconception. Just come and ask and do your research. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our GRSP alumni, Sebastian, to help us in our group participation. Sebastian.
Well, thank you, Juan. Surprise to everybody, I too am Colombian. You know, President Cedric came to us and he told us, we want this program to be impactful. Like, okay, all right. So, it is my unenviable task to teach everybody here your Spanish in 10 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're not going to do that. However, every table in this room has a country. My lovely wife over here, she's going to go around the room. She's going to pick one person. Well, if you already have one person, do so. And you just, what we just want you to do, we want you to just say in 10, 20 seconds what you have learned about that country. All right? So, but before we do that, we're all Colombians here. Angelica, Juan, let's start off. Something interesting about Colombia. That's not the land of Pablo Escobar, something else.
Yeah. Something positive about Colombia is often voted one of the world's happiest countries and is the #1 exporter of emeralds in the world.
Did you get that? Good. All right. Now, Natalia, if you will, Brazil.
I'm going to be the teacher's pet. I'm going rogue. I didn't look at my sheet, but I want to add a fact. If you're a birder, if there are any birders in the crowd, I didn't think so. According to, I'm the only guy, but according to eBird, you can pick up over 1,000 species of birds in Brazil, which is the #1 place in the world. United States is like 4, Ecuador, Colombia are second and third. So most birds.
Thank you. All right, move on. Argentina. All right, Vernon, what you got?
I got voluntold. That's what I got.
Apologize.
Argentina has 97% of its people can trace their ancestry back to Europe, and the tango came from there.
Excellent.
I don't do the tango. So
Are you
you're
sure?
all out of luck. I'm positive.
That lovely lady right there can teach you. All right. Don't. Next one, Uruguay.
Hi, Uruguay. The 29th day of each month is known as Gnocchi Day, where most families make this potato-based pasta. I just felt if that fell on International Beer Day, it'd be perfect.
Brilliant. Moving on to Ecuador.
If you had a banana for breakfast this morning, it may have come from Ecuador. Ecuador is the largest producer of bananas.
Thank you. Great. Paraguay.
Paraguay, while surrounded by land entirely, has its own navy, which patrols the rivers.
And
Paraguay.
actually, it's the biggest one in the world.
That's right.
Of the ones that don't have, ocean access.
And speaking of the biggest in the world, they also have the largest aquifer underneath the country of anywhere in the world.
Great. Next one, Bolivia. All right, Joseph.
So we discovered, and thanks to Bob Kinnett's quick research, there are 2 voting ages in Bolivia. One, if you are married, you may vote at age 18. If you're not married, you cannot vote until you are 21.
Chile.
Years ago, my wife and I flew into Santiago, Chile, and took a side trip over to Vina del Mar on the coast. The Andes Mountains descend to the Pacific in that area, and it is the closest thing to the Monterey Peninsula in this country that I've seen.
Thank you, Don. Next up, Costa Rica.
We learned that you can watch the sun rise on the Caribbean coast and actually see it set on the Pacific coast all in one day.
Next vacation booked, huh? Next, we've got Cuba.
I sat at the right table because I like baseball and cigars.
There you go.
And Cuba, of course, is known for its incredible cigars. And also what I didn't know, being a big baseball fan, is that they started playing baseball in the 1860s in Cuba, which is fascinating. We get some of the best baseball players in the world out of there today.
Let's thank Cuba for that. All right. Next up, Dominican Republic.
Every year in the northeast coast of Dominican Republic at the Bay of Samara, 2,000 to 3,000 humpback whales visit. Learned that. And if you are in the armed forces or in the police, you are not able to vote, which is interesting.
Interesting. All right. Panama.
So a couple of things. Panama celebrates 2 Independence Days, not one from Spain in 1821 and one from Colombia in 1903. And then from the Red Cross perspective, I found this interesting. They are rarely affected by tropical storms because they are well below Hurricane Alley, so nice to know.
Yeah, they wanted the Panama Canal from Colombia. That was Teddy Roosevelt, no? All right. Next up, Peru.
Peru. Couple of stories
Ian, of course.
totally off script, but 2 fun food facts about Peru. So I went to Lima and I had ceviche. And discovered that real ceviche, it's all raw. And it is the acidity in the lime juice that effectively cooks the ceviche. So having ceviche anywhere in the United States, that's not ceviche. It's got to be raw.
Get your money back, yeah.
FDA won't allow it. Second food fact, then we went on up to Cusco, up in the Andes, and they said, let's have cuy for dinner. So this tastes a bit like chicken. What is it? Guinea pig.
Yeah. Thank you for not going over 1 minute, Mr. Ian. Okay, next up, Puerto Rico.
So we have Puerto Rico. It has America's largest cave network. The cavernous del Rio Camay contains more than 200.
We'll get with Frey later and we'll practice on the pronunciation, don't worry.
Okay. And it has more than 200 caves that stretch over 250 miles. And that's a lot in little Puerto Rico. And 2 of my closest habitat friends are there on a 3-year term in disaster relief. And they've helped a lot of families there. So.
We thank them. Thank you. Next up, El Salvador.
All right, we learned lots of interesting facts. Stop by our table later for more information. But I will share now with you that it's great for surfers. They have some of the biggest swells and some of the longest waves.
Yep. Next up, Guatemala.
Guatemala means land of many trees and is the birthplace of chocolate. Mic drop.
Okay, next up, Honduras.
Okay, Honduras. The local buses are called chicken buses. They're painted brightly and look like a party on wheels, but you won't find chicken in them. Honduras is part of the second largest coral reef in the world, which I didn't know.
There you go. Next up, Nicaragua.
It always comes to the preacher. You know that. There's a mosquito. There's a mosquito coast in Nicaragua that has nothing to do with mosquitoes at all, unless it's the wrong time of the year or something. But anyway, and they're also the freshwater sharks. The only ones in the world are found in Lake Nicaragua. So there we go.
Great. Thank you, Jimmy. Lastly, but not least, Venezuela.
So I thought this was really neat about Venezuela for the nature lovers out there. One, that NASA has declared Lago de Maracaibo as the lightning storm capital of the world, with over 300 electric storms and a total of 1.6 million lightning strikes per year. I can't even fathom that. And then it's also got the world's highest waterfall at the Angel Falls, located at the Canaima National Park.
Thank you so much. Now, I trust everybody here is now an expert in Latin American cultures. Nevertheless, we have agreed that you may take those little flyers with you home so you can continue to study these countries. And like as my colleague said, we're proud to share our heritage with you. Please, don't feel free, come up here, ask us questions about our countries. We'll be happy to enlighten you. Thank you very much.
It's now my opportunity and great privilege to introduce to you Kathy Rosado. Kathy is from Puerto Rico. She moved here to Columbus 6 years ago. And since then, she has been thriving in the community as a leader with the Tri-City Latino Association as a board of director member, and with Neighborhood Works of Columbus as our operation manager, diversity specialist. Let's give a big welcome to Kathy Rosado.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I did want to add a couple of things about Puerto Rico, since I didn't get the opportunity to talk. So I do want to say Puerto Rico is not a state, yet we are all U.S. citizens. And Puerto Rico consists of one main land and two smaller lands, Vieques and Culebra. And I can't forget, Puerto Rico has one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. You can't go wrong there. And our amphibian is El Coquí, and it goes like this. You could hear it all over the island at nighttime. So it is with great pleasures I want to recognize, we have here today Mimi Woodson. She not only is from the City Council, she is also the member founding of the Tri-City Latino Festival Association. Without her, we don't have Tri-City Latino Festival. And I also do want to recognize a couple of other peoples, for example, Daisy Linton with the Panamanian Association, as well as part of the Hispanic Committee. She is also a great supporter of everything related to Hispanics. And lastly, but not least, my colleague, Ms. Kim Godin. She is our CEO at NeighborWorks. I do all these recognitions because I kind of represent everybody, you know? So I want to be there for everybody. So I wanted to give a little quick history of what is the creation of the Tri-City Latino Festival. It all started with a dream about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. A dream that unites all walks of life for one unique purpose. It was a conversation that happened between Harold Lefty Encarnacion and, bless his soul, and Miss Evelyn Mimi Woodson. And it led to the creation of what is known today as the Tri-City Latino Festival. It wasn't easy getting it all started in the beginning, but with the support of everybody that was involved, the dream became a reality. We thank the early board members, the early supporters, and the early partners for never giving up. Everyone contributed in some aspect and made this dream become a reality. We thank our current board members, Mimi, Elika, Tito, Betsy, Natalie, Christian, and Carlos, and myself, for this year's festival. And most importantly, we have to thank all of our current partners, our sponsors, and our Tri-City community, which is Columbus, Fort Benning, and Phoenix City. That was a quick summary. Let me tell you, the history is pretty long. So, you can change. So what is the Tri-City? Tri-City is a festival of celebration of colorful and flavorful traditions of the Latin American countries. Last year in 2021, more than 9,500 people actually participated of the festival throughout the year with the entertainment and the foods. And mind you, last year it was severe weather. We had a very strong rainstorm, and even so, everybody came out. And we did a celebration within the facilities of the Civic Center. The festival will continue to feature educational booths representing the Latin American countries, the cultural music, dance performers, and just as engaging as other years. The Tri-City Latino Festival demonstrates the profound presence of Latinos in our community, and we hope to shine a light in their impact. I do want to say, this year we have our upcoming press conference on September 12th. It will be at Agave Bar and Grill. We are letting everybody know that we are here and we are here to stay. We will be presenting the festival, which is on the 17th, but promoting it on the 12th. This is our main flyer. We're gonna have a long list of artists. We're gonna have music from Puerto Rico, from Nicaragua, from all places, Santo Domingo, pretty much bachata, merengue, reggaeton. Those are all our cultural music. We're gonna end the day with Charlie Aponte, who is from Puerto Rico. We start the festival at 12 and end at 9, but before the festival, we have a parade. We will also be promoting our sponsors and our supporters, starting with a parade at 11 a.m. And finally, we want you to all to come to our festival. It is officially on September 17. Again, starting at 12 p.m. until 9 p.m. or a little bit longer. The admission is free. We're gonna have food, we're gonna have color, we're gonna have music, and everybody that goes there will want to start dancing. Trust me, this is a festival that doesn't end. Thank you.
Thank you all for the lesson in history and for your presentation of the festival and the meaning. I'm sure that there are probably questions that you may have of these guys, so I think there are microphones that maybe, any questions that you all may ask, want to ask any of them? Joe? And Deb in the back?
Hi, with so many different countries represented, I'm curious. I mean, the United States is such a large country. Of course, we have our individual states that have differing opinions on various, political topics or whatever. Within the Latin American countries, I guess, opinions are just as diverse, I would imagine. Are there countries that get along better than others, alliances within that group, or talk us through maybe some international politics there.
We'll be here all day. I won't do that. But yes, there's absolutely differences from one country to the other. And then also within those countries, kind of like in the United States. I'm from New England. My dialect is a little different than people from the South. It's a little different than people from the West Coast. Very similar in other countries, in Latin American countries as well. So yes, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot that unite us. You might have seen in the news about a year ago that Venezuela was going through an economic crisis, and Colombia opened its borders to Venezuelan residents to come and seek refuge in Colombia during those difficult times. So more than what separates us, divide us, or differ, it's more about what unites us in Latin America. We really work to be a united front, and there's different dialects and there's different interpretations. Really quick story, I had one of our when I was working in Rhode Island, I had a gentleman that worked with us. He was Mexican, and he comes to me. He's like, "Oh, you're a cabrón." And for Mexicans, cabrón means, "Hey, that was a great job. Good job, my friend." For Colombians, it's not a nice word. So we had to, go to a conference room and talk it out a little bit and make sure I understood him and he understood me. So there's differences, but there's a lot more that unite us and divides us. Except when it comes to soccer. That's a big rivalry there. Argentina versus Colombia versus Brazil versus Mexico versus the World Cup and the Copa America. Then you see the silos. Absolutely. It's kind of like college football in the South.
I'm going to ask Mimi to tell us about the resources.
Hi, we just want to make sure that everyone understands at the festival we will have a resource center, which is different nonprofits introducing their products to the community, not only the Latino community, but everyone that participates. We'll also have a job fair, and this is something new we've never done before, and the parade too. As Kathy said before, is that we want to educate our community about the Latino community. As each speaker has spoken, there's so much myth about Latinos, and we want to express that. And the Tri-City Festival is an entity of the Tri-City Latino Association. As an association, we're very quiet, low-key. There's like 7 of us, but we're powerful working bees. When companies need assistance or people in the community need assistance, we network people together. So I hope that you would please take into your heart consideration to research, and please feel free to ask us any question. We love, as Latinos, to be part of this community, and we would love to show our talent more if we're allowed to. And thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Other questions? Over here in front. Ian?
Yes, you do.
I had the pleasure of taking my wife and daughter to a conference in Mexico City. And my daughter said, "Dad, that's not Mexican food." And I said, "Yes, baby, that is Mexican food." how different, or I don't know how to say what I'm trying to ask, but I told her what we have in the United States is bastardized food. It's not really Mexican food. Is there good places better than others around that you have found that have better than average food?
Oh, yes.
I like to eat. I got to ask about food.
The answer to that question is absolutely, and it's not Taco Bell or Del Taco. I will say Agave has really good Mexican food. They sell pupusas, which is Salvadorian, and at Las Americas, at Farmers Market, they have empanadas. Las Americas. Las Americas has a restaurant behind the supermarket that has really good food. There's a Puerto Rican restaurant in South Columbus off Victory Drive. La Borinquen. El Garito and La Borinquen. Yep. So yes, there is a lot. There is a lot of different places that you can eat, some better than others. And every country, of course, has different cuisine.
I think the recommendation would be those locals that actually nothing that's part of a franchise.
Kind of what I told.
Other questions? Oh, one over there.
Do y'all involve the Western Hemisphere for security cooperation? WINSEC in your, okay. Thank you.
Yes, we do. I got a nod over here. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I think we got someone back here, Ian. Where does the parade start?
Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 12th Avenue?
12th Avenue? 12th Avenue. 11 o'clock.
It starts at 11 o'clock, but those that are interested in participating, or if you have somebody, we have to be there by 10 o'clock to set up. But it starts at 11, it ends at 12, and continues with the festival.
12th Avenue and what?
Broadway?
12th Street.
12th Street.
Between 12th and 9 on Broadway. If you go to the Tri-City Latino website, you'll see the route for the parade.
Can we ask her to talk about the food at the festival?
Perfect, absolutely. Mimi, if you could talk a little bit about the food at the festival, and while you get the microphone, I'll take the opportunity to say that we spoke with President Cedric, and if any Rotarian goes to the Tri-City Latino Festival, it will count as a makeup. So I think, yeah, I got some good reviews. You'd have to find Angelica. She's going to be taking attendance that day. She'll be there in her booth. She'll be taking attendance, but it does count as a makeup. And so I also say you don't have to be Latino to attend. Mimi, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the food at the Latino Festival?
Yes, thank you very much. This was Kathy's job, but that's okay. For the food, we go everywhere from American food, from hamburgers to hot dogs, all the way to Latino food, which includes empanada, includes, what do you call that, the Panamanian seed? Sao, and it includes all different kinds of Latin American food. The festivals, actually, people start coming to the festival at 12 o'clock to eat, so if you want to get some really good food, I would suggest there you be early. The opening ceremony is at 2 o'clock, which is the mayor in Fort Benning and Phoenix City all welcomes the community. The music between 2 and 5 is American and Spanish. It's mixed. And then after 5 o'clock, as Kathy was mentioning, it's when we're bringing these international artists. We get people come from where people save their vacation time to visit their family in Columbus just to come to the festival. And the reason is because we have diligently raised money and got partners to help us to make it free to the public. The intent of the festival is to unite everyone and learn other and to celebrate our differences, especially in an economy where people really can't afford to go to concerts or family events. But the food is delicious. If you really want to try Latin food, I would tell you two things. They're early and be ready, because them lines are long and they do sell out.
Thank you,
Anything else
Mimi.
you want?
Nope, that's good. Thank you. And I think we're right at our time. So muchas gracias. We really appreciate your time, and we hope to see you at the Tri-City Latino Festival. Thank you.
Again, we thank you all, and just as a token of our appreciation from the club, we'll place a children's book in the library grafted with each of your names on that book itself. So again, I'd like to thank Sebastian, who's up here to my left, and Miss Kathy, and Juan, and Angelica, and Mimi, and Daisy, and the others that are here today visiting with us, that shared with us. And Lowry is here somewhere. Lowry, would you have a microphone, please? Do you? Would you tell us one thing that was a highlight for your week?
Is it working? Yeah. I went to a football game. Yeah.
Okay, let's give her a hand. That's big. That's big. Again, we'd like to remind you that today's program will be replayed on our Facebook page and also will be on YouTube. And as Juan said, we're right at our time, but I'd like to call Sebastian back up, ask you all to stand with me, because each week we want to do as a reminder of who we are, our four-way test. So, Sebastian, if you would lead us.
Thank you. It wouldn't be a Rotary Club without it. In Spanish, right? Oh, no. Gotcha. I gotcha. Now, let's end with the four-way test. Of all the things that we say and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build better goodwill and friendships? And lastly, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you very much.
Sure, these guys are going to be around for a little while if you have further questions, but if there's no further business, we stand adjourned.